part here? You said it's okay to kill them like before the end of the second trimester?
Yeah, so like second trimester development seemed to be in line with brain development, like brainstem, cortexes, neurons within the brain, and I think that these are things that are indicative of the ability to have a sentient experience, capacity to experience suffering. Those are things I value pretty highly. I think in the absence of that, um, I don't value what's essentially a clump of human cells.
Yeah, and then I guess you don't value like potential at all. Like if I have like a coma patient or whatever, we just be cool with like raping, murdering, doing whatever to them.
No, I also I don't think rape falls into that, but no, the coma
Wait,
patient I don't
sorry, wait,
value
just real quick.
potential.
Maybe I misunderstood. Like, presumably you'd be fine with like killing a fetus, right? You'd also probably be fine with like raping one as long as it's not going to cause like other sorts of harms.
No, I don't. I'm probably not fine with raping the fetus.
You're okay with like murdering it, like literally like ripping it limb from limb to get it out of the womb, but you're not okay with
I don't
like.
think that's. I don't think that's. I think it's murder. Like I think murder is really loaded.
Oh,
I think
sorry. I
that.
mean, maybe I could just use
So
a
in
different word.
general,
Like,
what an
yeah,
abortion
listen,
is. Yeah, go
listen. Hold
ahead.
on. I just want to be like, I just want to be super clear. So, you're not okay with murdering it. You're just okay with like ripping it limb from limb, right? But you're absolutely
It's
not
not
okay with
even.
like.
It's not even like what all abortions are. So like I
I
said,
mean, does it matter? Like, would it
yes, it
matter? I
does
mean,
matter. It does. If that's how
wait,
you're gonna
sorry.
present it.
If we
If
rip
that's how you're gonna
the
portray it.
clump of cells, wait, Forks. If we rip the
Huh?
clump of cells limb from limb, would you have like an issue with that?
And presumably not, but I'm just saying that when you're like
Okay,
presenting
so
it
it
like,
doesn't matter,
hold on,
right?
wait, it does matter because when you're presenting it like that, right? Because clearly this kind of language matters to people who are listening in, especially when we know that that's not even what fully encapsulates an abortion to begin with.
Well, it
And that
doesn't matter
feels
what
like
encapsulates an
that
abortion. It
feels.
matters what, hold on, Forks, just real quick. It matters what you're okay with, right? And when I just
I
asked
would
you, well, would you be okay with ripping this
I
clump
would
of cells
ask.
limb from limb, right? You said, well, yeah, I would be okay with that, right? So again,
I
like we're
think I
not
would
trying to
ask.
capture what's actually happening in an average abortion. We're just trying to capture what you're going to be okay with, what the limits of your moral boundaries are, right?
I would
So
ask that
let's
you
just be
allow me to
super clear. Let's just be super
finish.
clear, right? I don't want to push on this point super hard. It just kind of confused me a little bit. Like you're fine with ripping it
Again,
limb from limb.
I would just ask for you to let me finish because I feel like if you keep doing that,
Well, I
you're
mean,
gonna
sorry, you
try to
interrupted me to
convince me
say that I didn't let
otherwise.
you finish. Okay, so listen, I'll just finish that off and then I'll let you finish. Okay, so again, like it just
Yeah, I
seems weird to
interrupted
me.
you. I
Hold on,
interrupted you
Forks,
to let you
you're
know that
interrupting
you
me
were
again.
interrupting me.
Forks,
I'm sorry,
Forks,
I
Forks.
interrupted your interruption. I was
Okay, thanks,
listening.
Forks. I appreciate your sorry.
No,
So normally when people are
I
sorry, they like continue not to do the thing that
no,
they're sorry
it
for.
was
Okay,
sarcastic. I don't know if
listen,
you couldn't
listen,
tell, but
Forks,
it was a sarcastic
Forks,
sorry. I'm not
Forks. I
sorry.
could
You
tell. I was also
interrupted
being
me.
sarcastic, Forks. Holy shit.
All right. Well, don't
Listen,
try to
we
out
don't have to be
sarcasm
brain
me
dead. We
because
don't
it's
have to be
not
brain
gonna
dead.
fucking work. No, don't be
Oh my
fucking
God.
brain dead to me.
How
I
do we
wasn't
really
done
want to do
speaking.
this? Are we talking substance at all, or do we
You're the
want to
one
yell
who's
at each
going
other?
down this path. You're the one who's going
It's
down
like
this
you're
path.
literally brain dead, dude.
If you
Come
give
on.
a fuck about substance, then don't interrupt me. The
I
fuck?
didn't. Okay, Forks, I didn't interrupt you. You interrupted me to tell me I was
You
interrupting you, and you were
interrupted my
wrong.
interruption. I
Listen,
was just
Yo,
speaking.
Forks,
wait,
we don't have
do
the
y'all
meta to
want
start. We don't
a
have the meta
mod?
to start. Just shut up. Listen,
Sorry,
No,
I'm
sorry,
gonna
shut the
finish.
fuck
bro.
up.
Do y'all want a
No.
mod?
Hello.
Okay, do you want
Do
to
y'all want
finish
a
then? I don't
mod?
even know what you were saying. Go ahead. It's been like 5 minutes.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, of course I wanted to finish. Are you fucking stupid? What I
Go,
wanted to
go,
say is that
go,
I'm sorry. I know you're my fucking owner. Don't command me like a dog, you
go.
dumb
You
bitch.
got it. Go.
Anyways, as I was fucking saying, right? I do think it matters what we're framing abortion as because there are multiple forms of abortion, all of which I'm in favor of, right? So for you to say, for you to represent abortion as, oh, we're violently, brutally ripping it limb from limb, we're murdering it, when that's not necessarily the case, even for most abortions. Most abortions, right? The death of the fetus is incidental because we're removing it from the body and it's only dying because it's dependent on the body. That's not equivalent to ripping it across maliciously. Like you framing it that way is not fair. I would even go so far as to say that it's poisoning the well a little bit because you're loading these super harsh, abrasive, morally charged statements into abortion where they don't even need to apply. So I would ask that you don't do that.
Okay, are you done? Are you finished?
Yeah, when people stop talking, they're finished.
Yeah. Well, you stopped talking last time, and you said I interrupted. Okay, so I just want to
I
make absolutely
did.
sure.
You just
Forks,
cut in, so don't
Forks, you're
fucking lie
interrupting
to
me.
me.
Forks, you're
Don't
interrupting me.
lie to
Forks, you're
me.
interrupting
Don't
me.
lie to
Forks, you're
me.
interrupting
Don't
me.
lie to
Forks,
me.
you're interrupting me. Forks, you're interrupting me. Okay, I'm glad you're done. So listen. To be clear, I'm not saying that a majority of abortions, or that even any abortions, are ripping a fetus limb from limb, right? Like it just doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna be super, super clear. I asked you, well, would you be okay with it, right? I said I agree that that's not what a majority of abortions are, but would you be okay with ripping a fetus limb from limb? Presumably before it reaches this like brain level or level of brain development that you care about, right? And you said yes, right? So that's the reason I'm framing it as that. So
Why is that relevant?
I didn't say, wait, sorry, you interrupted me. I didn't say that a majority of abortions are that, right? I just said it seems weird to me that you'd be okay with somebody ripping a fetus limb from limb, but not like raping it, right? Just seems kind of inconsistent. But listen, we don't even have to talk about rape, okay? If it makes you like super uncomfortable because, the moral implications of your position are like obviously horrible, we could just ignore them. I'm cool with that, right? So, listen, I'm just going to be super clear. It seems weird to me, and I guess I'm going to ask about a scenario just so we can get into the actual substance, right? It seems weird to me that you're not okay with like caring about like potentiality, right? Like, I gave the example of like a coma patient. I'm not even sure I got a response to that, so I'll just give it again, right? Like a coma patient, right? We know that this person is going to wake up, but they don't have like the current consciousness, right? They don't really have like the brain. They don't have the proper brain structures to function consciously, right? And they don't function consciously. So I guess you'd be cool with like murdering that person.
Really quickly, because you just tried to say me not wanting to talk about rape is me essentially conceding that my position has
I guess I'm just
horrible
not going to get a yes or
ramifications.
no.
But you can't introduce that claim into the conversation and then expect me not to answer it unless you're a scumbag dumb fuck. Okay, so I'm
Yeah. So I was
going to
actually
answer
just
it.
looking for a yes or
So
no. That
you
was the.
so the reason why I question whether or not you bringing up rape was relevant is strictly because of that, whether or not it was relevant. Because I'm defending abortion. I don't particularly care if you think I have weird moral views. If what I'm defending is abortion, and we know that
That's
abortion
great. Do
doesn't
you
have to
understand
fall
that?
into.
Do you understand that your
So
moral
so
position on abortion? Wait,
I'm
do you understand
defending
that your moral
abortion.
position on abortion has like implications? Like, do you understand
No,
that?
I
Yes
don't
or
think
no?
these are relevant implications.
Wait,
You'd
sorry.
have to
It's
demonstrate
a yes or
they're
no
relevant.
question. You said I don't
You'd
think these
have
are
to
relevant
demonstrate.
implications. I
You'd
was
have
just
to
asking,
demonstrate that.
do you think that they have implications? Yes or no?
You have to demonstrate these are relevant implications.
Gotcha. I'm just gonna ask it one more time. This is gonna be the third time. Do you think that there are implications? Yes or no?
I just said that you have to demonstrate they're relevant. So
Okay,
obviously the
this
answer
is
is
gonna be the fourth
yes.
time. This is gonna be the
The
fourth
answer
time.
is
Oh yes.
yes.
Okay, fourth
Demonstrate their
time. We got it.
relevance.
Listen, Forks,
That's what
Forks,
demonstrate
Forks,
their relevant
Forks,
means. The answer
Forks,
is yes,
the-
but you have to demonstrate they're
Forks,
relevant. You have
Forks,
no fucking
Forks,
social
Forks,
understanding. Did
Forks.
you
The
seriously
reason I
not
was looking for
understand
an
what I
answer to
meant
that
by that?
question was
Did you
because it was
not
going to
understand what
demonstrate
I
that these
meant
are
by that?
relevant, right? So listen, if somebody has an
Who
abortion
demonstrates they're
position,
relevant?
or really any sort of moral position, right? If anybody has some sort of moral position, and then an implication of their position is going to be something like, I don't know, it's okay to rape babies, right? I would say that's
Huh?
relevant because that's going to be because that's going to be an absurdity of their position, right? Like if somebody tells me, well, I think my position implies that it's okay to rape babies, right? Obviously,
Huh?
I think the implications of their position are absurd, and therefore their position is absurd, right? Like presumably you
Huh?
don't want to have absurd moral implications. So again, we cannot talk about the rape thing, okay? Again, if it makes you super uncomfortable that the implications of your
I
position are
don't
like
care. We
horrible
can talk
and
about
absurd,
it. I
that's
just
fine.
need you to
That's fine. We
demonstrate
can
it's
get into it
relevant.
later. But again, I'm looking for a yes or no answer to my question about the coma patient. Would you be okay with murdering a coma patient? Yes or no? Holy
It
shit.
de- yeah, it depends on if they ever had a conscious experience beforehand.
Yeah, let's just assume they are. They do.
Yeah, if they had a conscious experience beforehand, then I value resuming that conscious experience afterhand. I don't think that's potential.
Gotcha. What if they wake up as like a different person?
That's resuming an actualized value.
Wait, sorry. What if they wake up as like a different person?
You say different person. What do you mean by that? Like personality wise?
Yeah. Like they have a wildly different personality. They don't really have any of their memories. Like they're just a completely different person.
Yeah, fine. There's still a sentient experience worth protecting.
Gotcha. So you agree that despite the fact that there's no conscious experience which is continuing, right? Because I mean, for it to continue, it has to have some psychological continuity, which it doesn't. You'd still not be fine murdering that thing because it has some future conscious experience worth protecting, right?
Wait, I never said a consistent sentient experience. I said a sentient experience. If you want to say that's an inconsistent sentient experience,
Oh,
that's fine.
okay.
But that's not what I said I valued. I said
Okay,
I
so to
valued
be clear,
sentient experience. So
psychological.
to be
Wait.
clear, wait, hold on.
Hold
Let
on.
me
I'm asking a
extrapolate because
question. I'm asking a
I
clarifying
wanted to
question.
answer.
I'm asking a
I'm
clarifying question.
answering.
I'm
Wait,
asking
I'm
a
still
clarifying question. I'm
answering.
asking
I'm
a
still
clarifying
answering.
question.
I'm still
Holy
answering.
fucking
Are
Christ.
you scared to let me? Are you scared to let me finish my answer?
Yeah,
Because
I'm
what I was
actually
going to say was,
terrified, folks. I'm actually
I know
shitting my
you're
tenders right
terrified.
now.
I know you're terrified because you're such a bad
I'm
bitch
actually
dumb
completely
fuck.
glad you know.
So
Okay, I said it word for word.
I'm gonna
Listen,
Wait,
Forks,
finish
you
wait,
my
finish your
folks, do
answer,
y'all
and then
need a
I'll ask you a
mod?
question. Okay,
answer.
go ahead.
We
Hold
don't
on,
need a
hold
mod.
on. Do
This
y'all
little
need a
pussy's
mod?
not gonna. No, we
Okay,
don't
if
need
he
a
says
mod.
it.
This pussy's
No,
not
no,
gonna
he's good. I'm
I,
overtalk
good.
me.
Go ahead.
This
Answer the
pussy's not
question,
gonna
Terrence.
overtalk me.
No, go
No,
ahead. Answer the
I
question,
wasn't
Terrence.
finished
okay.
with my fucking. I wasn't
Yeah,
finished
go
with
ahead.
my
Answer the
fucking.
question, Terrence.
What I was saying is that if you want to say that we need an ultra consistent, or right, or that my position would require an ultra consistent sentient experience in order to function, I don't even think that's a. I don't even think that's possible. I think that most people are going to gradually wake up over time and become a different person to who they were the prior day,
True.
week, month, year, etc. etc. So no, I don't think a consistent sentient experience is necessary. Just sentient experience is what determines value in my worldview. So go ahead.
Gotcha.
Your
So,
thoughts.
so to be clear, turns. Sorry, I called you turns because you remind me of turns. So, to be clear, Forks, psychological continuity isn't going to be the way in which you determine whether something has a past sentient experience, right? Like, there doesn't actually have to be psychological continuity. It just has to be like that body had sentient experience before. Is that what you're looking for?
Oh.
Okay, so if that body didn't have sentient experience before, that's the only condition for determining whether they have past experience. You would say that that body didn't have past experience before, right?
Sure.
Cool. So imagine I have a scenario where I don't know, I like murder your mother or something, and then I clone her, right? I just like clone her exactly. And to be clear, like with this clone, we're using like very, very different sorts of materials, right? Like we're not actually using the mother's body or her ashes, right? Like we're just like cloning it with different materials, right? I assume like imagine we get this like clone of your mother, we like put her in a vat or whatever, and she's about to wake up in like 10 minutes. We have the process going, right? You'd say it's like okay to like murder and like rape and like kind of do whatever to her like before she wakes up because there's no psychological continuity and thus no past or sorry even though there's psychological continuity there's no like past experience in the body.
Yes, I'm looking for because when I yes, okay, so I'm going to say really quickly yes, and then I'm going to extrapolate. When I say that I'm looking for something valuable, something worth protecting, I'm looking for a sentient experience because typically speaking, when I go over in my mind moral situations, right? Why is it wrong to rape? Why is it wrong to murder? Why is theft wrong? It's generally because we're imposing some sort of harm or suffering upon a sentient being capable of will, experience, suffering, consent, whatever you want to call it, the qualities of the mind. That's what I ultimately value. So when you give me these hypotheticals of, well, if this person hasn't reached sentience yet, but they will soon, well, to me, all I'm hearing is they haven't actualized their value. That's not a being that I consider worth protecting. Yes.
All right, yeah. So just to be clear, we'll just be clear on an implication of the position. You'd be cool with somebody like raping and murdering a clone of your mother that's gonna wake up in 5 minutes. So seems pretty absurd to me, but I guess we can go to more, right? So
What's the absurdity?
imagine. Oh no, it's just wild to me. I would imagine that most people who have like I don't know like empathy. I'm not sure if you're familiar. Probably wouldn't be cool with somebody like raping and like murdering a clone of their mother who's asleep.
So to be clear, if we're
No,
gonna
listen.
appeal to what most people's empathies are, I have
No, listen,
absolute
Forks, I agree.
wait.
I agree that
If you
your empathy center is probably a lot different from most people.
hold
I
on,
agree.
I'm
You
about
don't
no,
have to appeal to what most.
I'm about to demonstrate how my position is actually very empathetic, at least in the aspect of abortion. Because if we're going to appeal to whether or not my position is empathetic, I have supreme empathy for the women who don't want to carry out their pregnancies either because of financial or psychological or physical reasons. I believe they should have that choice. I think that's empathetic over valuing the life of a being inside them that doesn't even have a sentient
Right,
experience.
right, yeah.
So if you're going to call
You
upon
have empathy for those
empathy,
people with
if you're
clones. You
going to
don't have
call upon
empathy for like the
empathy,
millions
if
of
you're going to
babies
call
that are
upon
being
empathy,
murdered. That's okay. So listen,
okay, when you say murder, that's a loaded language. You can't just say murder. Load it as if it's like inherently wrong when whether or not it's wrong is the
Gary or
question
whatever,
we're
I'll say the
debating.
word killed. Is that better? Does that make you more comfortable?
Yes, because you're not
Okay,
loading
I'm
the
glad.
language anymore.
No, I agree.
That's
Listen, I'm
strenuous.
glad if
Yeah.
it's more comfortable. Okay. So listen, Forks, again, just seems kind of absurd to me, and I would agree most people. But again, like if we want to appeal to most people, again, like I think it's like 50% of the United States is pro-life. Like if you really want to appeal to most people actually don't kind of give a fuck about that. Like or most people do give a little bit of a fuck, but there's like another consideration to be made, which is like the millions of babies that are being murdered each year from abortion, right? And you don't care about that at all, right?
Let's
So
let's just fact check this right now.
listen,
Actually,
Turns. I'm just
hold on.
gonna ask about another
Let's just fact
scenario,
check.
just so I can
Wait,
kind of
let's just
determine
fact check
where you're
this.
at mentally.
You
So
call me turns
imagine we have a
again.
baby that wakes up into a coma, right? Like this baby
How
goes into
many
some coma, wakes up
Americans
into a
are
coma, and that baby is gonna wake up in
pro-choice
10 minutes. Do you
or
think it would be okay
pro-life?
to go into the ICU and just fucking kill that baby? You think it would be
Hold on,
okay? You think it would be fine?
I'm fact checking you right now because you made the claim. You made a statistical claim about how many people are pro-choice, pro-life. So let me fact check this.
Thanks. I
Hold
don't
on.
actually think it's fully
Going
relevant, but listen, if
news.
you want to be
Wait. I
hyper-pedantic on a
believe
point
it's
that's not
relevant.
relevant because you know you're losing, that's
Why it's
fine.
relevant. I'll
Listen,
demonstrate why it's
as long as
relevant.
you give me an answer to my question when you're done fact checking, okay?
I'll
That's all I care
demonstrate
about.
why
You go
it's
ahead.
relevant. I'll demonstrate why it's relevant.
No,
Okay.
no, no. Listen, yeah. As
So
long as
at
you give me an
least in
answer to my
the
yeah, as long as you give me an
yeah, I'm
answer to
gonna
my
answer
question,
your
that's all I'm
question.
looking
I'm
for.
gonna
Okay.
answer your
All right,
question.
I'm
I'm just
super
gonna
glad. Thank
demonstrate.
you.
I'm just gonna demonstrate the relevancy of claim you made earlier. So you just made the claim that you think that most people that it's a 50-50 split in America about whether or not they're pro-choice or pro-life. Now, granted, I looked it up and this is news.gallup.com, right? And I don't know exactly how they're gathering this poll data, but this is just what I found. It seems as if, based on this website, and I'll post it if you want, 52% of US adults are pro-choice, 44% are pro-life, and 4% are no opinion. And this is with a sample size of 1,011, right, as far as polling goes.
Sounds like we
Now,
agree. All right.
the reason this is relevant is because when you said that my position that I gave sounded crazy or sounded ludicrous or whatever you want to say, you appealed to empathy. You said you think most empathetic people, right, would disagree with me. The problem with that is, if you're going to appeal to empathy to try to discredit my position, it seems like more people agree with my pro-choice stance and the entailments of my stances. That's to say that more people have empathy for my position and the women that my position helps out than yours. So you appealing to empathy here, that's not something you'd want to do. You don't want to go down that road.
Forks. If we want to be hyper pedantic, and as long as I get an answer to my question about the coma babies later, I'm cool with entertaining this point. So if we want to be hyper pedantic, we agree it's around a 50-50 split. I mean, you presented 48-52. I'm sure we don't want to be hyper pedantic there because that would be.
That's not what I presented. It was 44-52.
Oh, all right, big deal. So
the majority do have empathy for my position. Yes.
Yeah, I actually agree. I don't think it's relevant, right? So what I said wasn't the majority of people actually are pro-life. I actually didn't say that. I explicitly said that it was like a 50-50 split, and I was pretty much right. Like 44-52, like it's not that much of a difference.
Sure. All I'm saying is,
and listen. What I said, sorry, real quick, Forks. I'm finishing. Forks. What I said wasn't that, oh, most empathetic people would be pro-life. What I said was that most empathetic people probably wouldn't be okay with somebody killing or raping a clone of their mother that's going to wake up in 10 minutes. That's what I said, Forks. So listen, I agree that most people are kind of cognitively dissonant. Okay, I agree with that. And if that's if that's the point you want to make, like, oh, most people hold like a bad position or whatever, so they agree with me, like, that's fine. I'd actually agree with that. I don't think that's really relevant. So again, we can entertain this point even more if you want. It's not going to be relevant. The only thing I was making about empathy was about the clone mother situation. So I'm just asking you another situation. As long as I get to answer this question, I'm going to be okay with entertaining your question. Yeah, are you going to be okay with like murdering coma babies?
Hold on. So you just made a point here. You just said that you think most people are.
That's never going to get an answer to my question. Okay.
We're going to answer your question after we move off this point. But you just made the claim.
I would love to move off this point, Forks. It would be amazing.
You just made the claim. I know. You're scared of the conversation. That's fine. You just made the claim. Okay. Keep coping. Keep on coping. I'm just gonna keep on reaffirming.
Yeah, let me know when you're done.
All right. I'll get done quicker if you stop interrupting. So you just made the claim that most people have some cognitive dissonance bias, right? That's to say that there's some interference with their ability to objectively analyze their positions on ethical topics like these, right? The problem is you can't make the claim that most people have cognitive dissonance and then also make the claim that most people would be anti what I'm proposing or anti what the intent of my argument is, because I could equally make the claim, based on what you just said, that the only reason people might disagree with me, might disagree with the entailments of my argument, is because they also have cognitive dissonance, as you already granted they do. So this is all to say, you can't introduce the idea that these people are psychologically compromised, but still care about their value judgments on topics like these.
Yeah, I don't know if you're retarded. But listen, we can go over this again and be
That's the definition. That's the definition.
Listen, when I talk about cognitive dissonance, when I talk about cognitive dissonance, this isn't like some fundamental state of being. I don't know why you're acting like I'm saying. You even use the word psychologically compromised. I'm not saying people are psychologically compromised and that they can't have good positions or can't analyze things properly.
Okay.
When I say somebody has cognitive dissonance around a position, all it means is around that position in particular, there's probably some considerations that they make that are wrong, or some considerations that they overlook because they have some like motivated reasoning, right? That's all I mean. So listen, hold on, Forks. Just let me finish. So listen, Again, I think that most people probably have cognitive dissonance around a position like abortion, because abortion is very, very broad, and there's a lot of considerations to make around abortion, okay? And there's a lot of considerations that you can ignore. There's a lot of motivations, right? Now,
so
the clone mother example, okay?
So do you
the clone mother example.
Proof?
No, I don't. The clone mother example, okay?
So
this is a very specific situation. This is not a very broad situation. Of course, cognitive dissonance isn't going to apply in the same way that it is here. Again, this point is hyperbenetic. So listen, if you just want to avoid answering every question about your own position that you can by appealing to most people, we can do that. I don't want to do that. I think that's boring.
This is a baseless claim. So you made a baseless claim that people have cognitive
dissonance. Thanks, Forks. Good job. So do you want to answer my question?
So you're dropping that point.
Holy shit, are you just going to keep dodging every question that's relevant to your position?
That point wasn't relevant. So it still stands that most people are empathetic towards
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you it wasn't relevant.
So then more people in America
stop talking about it. So stop talking about it. Are we
Is
done?
it okay? So is it okay for
Are
me
we
to
done?
is it okay for me to say the majority of America finds your
Holy
position to be
fucking
absurd?
Christ.
Is that okay to say that the majority of America finds your position absurd?
Nope.
But we just pulled up the statistic that more people in America are
Forks,
pro-choice than
forks,
pro-life.
forks,
So
forks,
you just tried to appeal
forks,
to people's
forks.
empathies and
I don't know if
people's
you're
opinions
retarded. I don't know if you're
by
retarded.
argument
Listen,
with others.
listen, listen, Forks. I don't know if you're retarded or not. I went over this like very specifically, and we can go over it again. I don't know what's so difficult to understand. Okay,
So you're not going to answer the question?
hold on,
So
Forks.
you're not going to
Forks.
answer the question?
Forks, I answered the question. Forks, I answered the question.
Then
I
you're
said
not
I
gonna
wouldn't be
answer the
okay with you
question.
saying that. I said I wouldn't be okay with you saying that. Again, if
Yeah,
you
but
want to
now
dodge
you're
the
running
Como Baby
away.
question,
Now
I've been
you're
asking
running
for 10
away.
minutes. You
But
can
now
do that.
you're running
But
away.
you can't,
But now you're
Forks,
running
you
away.
cannot tell somebody
Now
that they're
you're running
dodging a
away.
question while
Now
actively
you're
dodging a
running away.
question for
Now
15
you're
minutes. Okay.
running away.
So again,
Because you
I'm gonna
said
answer the point,
now you're
and then
running
I'm gonna
away.
ask you the
Now
question
you're
again,
running
and we'll see
away.
if the
Now
fourth
you're
time
running
I ask
away.
you, we can get an answer.
Now
Okay.
you're
So
running away.
again, when we
So the
talk about whether
majority of
most
America
people
does
agree
find
with
your
my
position
position or not,
absurd.
sorry, Forks,
So
are
the
you just gonna
majority of
keep fucking
America
rambling?
does find
Holy
your
shit.
position absurd.
Thanks, thanks. So when we talk about people in America and my position, okay, my position is very nuanced. My position is very substantive, okay? My position we can't categorize as just pro-life because my position is a lot different from most pro-lifers. Most pro-lifers don't hold the position I do. Most pro-choicers don't hold the position you do. We have more nuanced positions. We have more nuanced points about the positions or related to the positions, okay? Are we done? Are we done with this hyper pedantic retarded point? Can you answer the question about the Como Baby? This is the fifth time I asked.
So to be clear, when it comes to
The
your
fifth
position,
time.
so when it, you're screaming, relax. To be
I'm
clear,
screaming because you're retarded.
oh
I
boy,
actually, it's
oh boy,
upsetting that I have to
somebody's
share a planet
angry.
with people like you.
I think most people would find your screaming to be absurd and proof you're a fragile
Wow,
breach.
I actually don't care. So listen, are you done or are you going to answer the question or no?
So you no longer care about what most people think now. Suddenly, that's
No, I don't care about what most
and
people
suddenly,
think. I
and
care about
suddenly,
whether your position is absurd, okay?
okay,
So again,
okay.
Forks,
But
Forks,
you
Forks, we
appealed to
can go
most people
over,
when
we
you
can
said
go
it was
over,
absurd.
we can go
You
over, we can
appealed
go
to most
over, we
people's
can go
emotional
over, we
state
can
when
go
you said it
over,
was absurd.
we can go over the ailments of your positions, Forks. If you don't want to do that and you want to dodge the question for a sixth time, you can do that, but I'll ask the question for a sixth time and we'll see if we can finally get an answer, okay? This is the sixth try, okay? So again, imagine a baby wakes up into a coma. Okay, this baby was in a coma in the womb, woke up into a coma. Okay, okay. Are you okay with murdering this baby?
Yeah. So to be clear, right? When it's so
Sorry, is that a yes to the question,
be,
or is that just you saying the word yes?
Yes. But to be clear,
Okay, cool.
you just said so to be clear, when you said my position was absurd, you weren't appealing to the empathies of the masses, right? That wasn't what you were doing. You didn't say
No, I
that?
wasn't appealing. To be clear, I was appealing to the empathy of the masses. I wasn't appealing to the cognitive understanding of your position of the masses. I don't care
Okay,
I don't
great.
care what most people think
Awesome.
intellectually. I care whether most people have empathy, Forks.
Awesome. So you did. So to be clear, you did appeal to
Oh
the
my God,
empathy of
are we
the
still
masses.
gonna go on about this fucking point? Holy shit!
Yes, we are. But when I point out that actually the pro-life position in general is something that the majority of people in America don't empathize with as strongly as they do pro-choice, suddenly your position is hyper nuanced. Suddenly you don't care.
Oh my God, do we have to go about this one more time? Do we actually have to do this? This is going to be the third time, Forks. The third time.
Okay,
Listen, I'll go over it again with you. I'll go over it again with you, okay? I'll walk you through it. Listen, I think if you stopped interrupting while I was talking, maybe you should just let me talk over you, okay? Because I have to lecture to you about why you're retarded. It's like so difficult for you to understand.
Fragile, so you're still emotional.
So listen, Forks, I'll explain it for you one more time. I'll explain it for you one more time. In abortion, it's a broad topic, and there are broad considerations to make, Forks. There are broad considerations to make. There is a lot of cognitive dissonance around the positions that people hold broadly. When I'm talking about more specific positions or more specific scenarios, it's a lot easier for people to understand and empathize about, okay? Are we done? Do you keep on pushing this retarded point?
So you don't think that it's a specific situation, right? So hold on, a specific situation. Most people do have empathy. Sorry, I didn't realize that me talking offended you. So a specific situation.
No, it's you talking about a hyper pedantic and retarded point.
Oh goodness, he's still.
That's the thing that offends me. The thing that offends me is that I have to have a conversation with somebody who's below 70 IQ and can't track a conversation and stand a relevant point.
Call your mom. Does she need to change your diaper?
Are you done?
Does she need to put your bill on so you won't stop?
No, keep going. You're actually doing so well. You're doing so well. That's a really good one. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah,
keep going.
So stop joking. How about you pop your milk bottle into your mouth?
Oh, that was a really good one too. Oh my God. No, keep going. This is actually super relevant.
Yeah, it is super relevant. You're just a lame bitch.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, good job.
You think that this is so insecure, by the way? How insecure are you?
Yeah, true. It's actually super insecure.
It is
actually right. Good job. I'm glad you figured it out. Good job.
Why are you being a spurg?
Good job. Good point.
You're such an autistic little spurg.
No, good job. Good point.
Good job.
So listen, are we gonna get back to the point or not?
Is it a good job and good point when you
That was
overtalk
sorry.
me?
That was
Is
a
that
yes
a
or
good
no
job, good
question.
point? So is you
Sorry, that was a yes
overtalking
or no
me a good
question.
job, good point? Is you
Sorry.
overtalking me
Okay,
a
we'll
good job,
try.
good
We'll
point?
try
Is that
again. This
what
is
it
gonna be a
is?
second
Is
try.
that what
Okay,
it
we'll do
is?
3
So
tries. We'll do 3
when you
tries and then
act
I'll move
rude as
on.
fuck,
Are we gonna get
yourself,
back to the point or
point,
not? Yes or no?
you're the one preventing us from staying on track.
Sorry. So this is
You
gonna
won't
be the
stop
third
talking.
try.
You won't
Okay,
shut
3
up
tries and
because you won't shut
then we're
up.
done. Okay, 3 tries and we're done.
So,
Listen, are we gonna get
I'm
back to the
sorry. I
point? Yes
didn't
or no?
realize I abide by your rules.
Sorry. Wait. That was the third try, and you still haven't been able to give me an answer to a simple yes or no
So,
question.
are you not afraid to let me continue?
Forks, I'm afraid to let you continue on a retarded
So
hyperpedantic
you
point that's
made
not
the
relevant to
point.
the
So you made the
conversation.
point that more generally speaking, people's intuitions, people's
Holy
empathies,
fucking
more
shit.
generally are not as relevant because it's more relevant whether or not we're talking about specifics, which may or may not be true. But even granting if that is true, there are
No, Forks.
even granting the
Actually,
fact
sorry,
that
would you
that
like
is
me to
true,
explain the
even
position you
granting the
misrepresented
fact
for the
that it
5th
is true.
time?
Oh
It's
my
5 times. I've
goodness.
actually counted. It's 5
Oh
times in this
my
conversation that
god.
you've missed.
Oh, I'm so glad you counted. Yeah, you're so cool. Anyway, so you did make that point that super specifics that it's more relevant about people's empathies when we're talking about specifics, right? Which I could even grant, but there's a lot of specifics that people are still pro-choice on. It seems like people are still in the super specific situation of a child or a woman, doesn't matter, getting sexually assaulted or raped. A lot of people seem to be in favor of pro-choice for that super specific. A lot of people seem to be in favor of pro-choice in the super specific of after viability, where you can perform non-lethal abortion. So even in these specifics, there are a lot of people, most people even, with empathies towards my position. So if we're using people's empathies on specific stances
Holy
to
fucking
determine
shit.
the validity of a stance, then even that standard is going to be very convincing towards the pro-choice position. Understand that, right?
So Forks, no, I don't understand that. That's actually just wrong. So Forks, I guess I'll just ask the question because maybe we're just confused. And again, if we still want to go on the point and not actually get to any sort of relevant points in the debate, we can do that. I'll just engage. Okay, I'm actually done trying to get to relevant points. Okay, because this is probably just never
Okay.
gonna happen.
Just
I
go
mean,
ahead and
I
talk.
literally, you guys had to
Just go
server
ahead and
mute
make your
me.
point. Just
And
go
you're
ahead and make
still
your point.
interrupting. Holy shit! You had to server mute me because I was
Go ahead
interrupting
and
you
make
because
your
you wanted to be
point.
hyper pedantic and retarded. Okay.
I didn't.
So
I didn't
listen,
mute
I'll make
you.
the
I
point one
wasn't the
more
one who
time.
did
I'll
it.
make the
I
point one
wasn't
more
the one who
time.
did
I'll
it.
make the point one more time. I'll even just ask you a yes or no question. Do you think most people would be okay with somebody murdering and raping a clone of their mother that's going to wake up in 5 minutes? Yes or no?
No.
Wait, you don't think most people would be okay with that? So it sounds like you agree with me. We're on the same page. Okay, so
You
let's move on
didn't
to a relevant
understand.
point.
You didn't
No,
understand
that
my
was
point.
actually the only point I was making. So
No,
listen,
you
you
didn't
agree with me? We're on
understand.
the
You
same
didn't
page.
understand.
So
You
let's move
didn't
on to a
understand
relevant
my
point.
point. Hold on. You didn't understand my point. All right. I see the
Holy
failure now.
fucking shit, bro.
The only reason I was making the point I was making is because you started when I bit the bullet on that hypothetical. You said, well, most people would not find empathy for that. To which I said, well, if we're going to use what most people find empathy on, then we could point to a lot of pro-choice scenarios in which most people are empathetic with the pro-choice position. Clearly, whether or not most people are empathetic is not going to give us the truth of the matter in this debate. So your standard for that, I think, is irrelevant. That was what I was trying to demonstrate.
Forks.
I
Forks.
Yeah.
Forks. I'll explain it super simply. Okay. I think most people are more empathetic towards pro-choice situations generally. I think there are implications of the pro-choice position, specifically of your position, because I mean we're not even
Mhm.
discussing a general pro-choice position. We're discussing yours, right? Because I don't think people hold to the past sentience condition. Like obviously they don't, right? Because if they did, they would be okay with I don't know murdering a clone of their mother or raping a clone of their mother that's going to wake up in 5 minutes. They would be okay with murdering babies in comas, right? And obviously they're not. Right. So again, like we're talking about the implications of your positions. I agree that the
Oh.
implication of pro-choice positions that aren't retarded, yeah, people probably generally agree with more. So again, like I don't understand. Do we want to get to the point or do we want to just talk about what most
But
people
yeah,
believe?
this
Because if we
feeds
talk about
into
because
this
Forks,
feeds
if we
into
talk
why I
about because if
believe.
we talk about what most people
Okay.
believe, most people do not hold the same intuitions that you do about this. Most
No,
people are
I
not
disagree.
okay with murdering clones of their mothers. Most people are not okay with murdering coma babies.
I disagree. I still understand. Okay, first of all, yes,
You
most people
disagree
are.
that most
Hold
people
on,
are not okay
hold
with
on.
murdering clones of their mothers and coma
Hold
babies?
on. This feeds into my point about people's empathies and intuitions on moral situations not being a super relevant factor. Because I agree, most people are not going to be okay with murdering people in comas or murdering coma babies. But I think the reason for that is that actually, yes, a lot of people do hold a position of pro-sentience. What I think most people don't do is that they don't sit there and philosophize and think about the logical
True.
entailments of their
Most people
position.
don't think about their
So,
position. Do you think
wait,
that looks good for you?
stop. I'm trying to finish, okay? That's why I'm saying when you appeal to the masses who we just agreed don't think deeply about their ethical positions. So I don't think that these people's authority. I don't think that these people's authorities are valid to point out. We just agreed that they're very inconsistent. We just agreed. We just agreed that their opinions broadly don't matter.
Okay, listen, I get that you want to agree because you understand that your point is wrong. Okay, I'm not going to agree. So maybe I have to give like a little 1-minute lecture on this so you can understand. Okay, and I'll be super specific with everything I say. Listen, Forks, just try not to interrupt me. Try not to interrupt me, and you'll probably understand. Okay, are you ready?
Don't give a lecture. Are you ready? What did you disagree with?
Wait, are you ready, Forks?
Don't give a lecture. What did you disagree with?
It's just a yes or no question. Are you ready? I'll explain.
I'm actually just gonna mute you. If like just personally mute you. What didn't you agree with? Because I'm not gonna listen to a lecture.
Yeah, Forks, I didn't disagree with the things that you just said. I'm pointing out why the things that you just said are completely irrelevant to the point that you're making and actually work against your point. Okay, so can I do that?
What point do you think I'm making?
The point I think you're making is that most people's intuitions probably don't agree with the sort of thing that I'm talking about.
That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making
is that you're making. You're actually lost in your own point.
You actually haven't been paying attention. The point I'm making is that
most you're literally lost in your own point.
People's moral intuitions go all over the place, and so appealing to them is probably not a good metric. That was always the point. You haven't been tracking that.
Yes, so they don't agree with the sorts of things that I'm talking about. Holy shit.
No, I don't care if they agree with the sorts of things you're talking about. That's the point. How are you not following this?
Forks, holy fuck! This is actually like I'm actually getting brain rot right now.
Serious?
Forks.
This is the guy.
The point that you've been making the entire conversation. The point that you've been making the entire conversation. You literally brought up statistics on whether most people agree. Holy shit! You brought up statistics and explicitly said during the conversation like 5 times, most people don't hold the position that you're talking about. So if we're using most people as a metric, they're not going to agree with the sorts of things you're talking about. I agree that that's another point that you're making, okay? Neither of these points are going to be relevant, okay? So listen, I'll just demonstrate why. So again, I agree that most people don't sit and philosophize about their positions, okay? I actually think that's what makes most people's positions bad, okay? I'm not appealing to most people's positions on pro-choice or pro-life. That's not why, that's like why I explicitly didn't bring up statistics. You were the one who brought up statistics. Well, that's why I explicitly didn't bring up whether most people agree with pro-life or pro-choice. Obviously, if I was using that as a metric at the beginning of the debate, I would have just said, wait, I disagree with your position because most people disagree with you. But I didn't say that. Clearly, I didn't say that for a reason, okay? So again, the only thing that I'm talking about is when we sit and philosophize about a position, when we get to the implications and its ailments of the position that are more specific, do most people's empathy center around the position that you're saying or the position that I'm saying, okay? When we do philosophize about these things. I don't care about what most people think when we don't philosophize about these things. When we do and when we intellectualize these things, well, what do most people think? I agree that maybe we don't want to use that as a metric, okay? As long as you agree that most people would find your position and the implications of your position completely absurd, I'm cool. We don't have to use that
to justify pro-life. The entire reason we were on this topic in the first place is because I bit some bullet that you asked me to bite, right? Where you asked some hypothetical, like, would you be okay with them killing this clone replica of your mother? And I was like, well, I guess so. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it given what I value. To which you said, well, I think that's absurd. And when I asked you what you mean by that's absurd, you said most people would probably not be able to empathize with you on that. They would empathize the opposite way. The entire purpose of this conversation, which you just admitted to, is that the majority, the populace you're appealing to, do not think heavily about positions like this. And you tried to make the exception and say, well, when people, you tried to make exception and say, well, when they do philosophize about this, when they do think deeply about this, they would still not empathize with you. How would you prove that? Do you have any proof that when people actually sit down and philosophize down and think about their position, do you have any proof that they would still not agree with the bullet I bit? The answer is no, you don't, because you pulled it out your ass. So are we ready to move on, or are you willing to concede that you calling up the so-called absurdity of my argument was nothing more than you giving your opinion that it sounded ridiculous? Like, can we just,
I am giving my opinion that it sounds ridiculous, and 2, yeah, of course I agree that most people wouldn't agree with that, okay? The point is, when I bring up the implication to most people, the implication of their position, that is philosophizing, okay? When people do sit and quote-unquote philosophize or intellectualize these positions, what they do is they think about the implications of the positions. So when I'm sitting there causing them to think about the implications of their positions, they are doing the thing that we're talking about, which is philosophizing or intellectualizing their positions, and you agree that even if they sit down and philosophize, they sit down and intellectualize their positions, aka they think about the implications of their positions, you agreed that they also wouldn't agree with you. Again, Forks, there's nothing to talk about here. I want to move on. I've been saying this. This is the 10th time that I want to move on.
It's not philosophy. Philosophizing.
Can we do it?
Philosophizing is not when somebody asks you to understand the ramifications of your
Oh my god, and we're
position,
just not going to.
and then you do it for like 30 seconds and decide, huh, I guess that does sound pretty bad. I guess I am against that. Like, that's not philosophizing. Like, clearly what I'm referencing is that you have some sort of coherency or wherewithal because you've thought about this thing more than once. You've sat there and you've actually conversed about it, researched about it. This is the
Gotcha.
standard.
Do you think if people
This is
thought about
hold on, this
murdering
is
and raping their coma
stop,
mother more than
stop.
once, that they would be
This
okay
is
with doing it?
this is the hold on. This is the type of credibility that I hold people to, not to just think about it
Holy
once and make a
shit.
determination, but to think about it multiple times, research it, have conversations about it. If you want to say that it's
I'm never
properly
gonna get to the actual
philosophizing,
point.
if you want to say it's properly philosophizing for someone to think about it once and come to a determination, I would say that's ludicrous. And then second of all, when you just made are you making the assertion that if most people truly thought about it in the way I'm describing, that they would disagree with you, disagree with me? If you're going to make an assertion, you better have proof, or is that just another one of your opinions that you intuited, which I don't give a fuck about?
Yeah, of course it's an opinion that I intuitive. I say I think most
You
people
don't
wouldn't be
have
okay.
proof.
Forks,
You don't
Forks,
have proof. So it's
Forks,
baseless.
Forks.
It's
Do you think it would be
conjecture.
wait, Forks,
Thanks for
Forks,
admitting
Forks.
it's conjecture.
Wait,
Thanks for
Forks,
admitting it's
Forks,
conjecture.
Forks,
Thanks for
Forks.
admitting it's
If I
conjecture.
said I don't think most people would be okay with child rape, would you go, wait, do you have proof for that? Wait. Do you have a study for that? Wait. Do you have a survey for
what I
that?
asked you.
No, of course you
That's not what I
wouldn't.
asked you.
Obviously
That's
you
not what I
wouldn't.
asked
That's
you.
like it's an insane thing
But
to ask for. Again,
actually,
Forks, we
do
can
have
get
proof
away
for
from this
that. We
point.
do
I would
have
love
proof
to
for
move
that.
away from this
We
point,
do
but you
have
keep
proof for
bringing
that.
it back.
We
Can we
literally
get
do
to the
have proof for
substance,
that.
or are we not going to?
We literally do have proof for that. I'm
It's
sorry
a
that
yes or
you're
no question. Can we get to the substance, or are we not going to?
this is the substance. I'm sorry that you are new
Oh
to
my God,
debate.
no, it's not.
I'm sorry you're new to debate and don't
Wait,
understand
if
that you
you
have a
think
massive
this is the
claim.
substance, you're the one positing that this position is
Okay.
important, not
So
me.
anyway, okay, I'm just asking you to drop the idea that me biting the bullet is suddenly wrong because you personally find it absurd or you personally think other people would find it absurd. That's the entire point. I don't think that was a substantive disagreement you gave to me. You're making a
Forks,
lot of claims about
forks,
how people feel and
forks,
you don't have any
forks,
proof for it.
forks,
You know what we
forks,
call that in debate when you
forks,
don't have proof for it?
forks,
We call that you
forks,
failing the burden of
forks.
proof. Maybe you should
Are
take
we
a
not?
simple
Are we not going to get to the
maybe
substance?
you should go to Wikipedia and look up burden of
Okay,
proof.
I
It
guess
would
we're
help
never
you a
going
lot.
to. Okay, holy
It would help
shit.
you a lot. So
Just let me
now
know
that
when you're
we've
done, I
gotten
guess.
past that, now that we've gotten past the fact that me biting the bullet doesn't make me wrong, do you have an actual substantive disagreement with me biting that bullet, or are you just gonna whine about people's opinions? What are you gonna do?
Okay,
Pick or
are you
choose.
done? Sorry, are you done? Can we get to the
Make a choice.
substance?
Make a choice. Make a choice.
Wait, sorry, are you done? Can we get to the substance?
Make a choice. Now that we've
Oh, sorry.
now
Yeah,
that
I'll
we've
answer the question.
discredited,
Sorry,
now that
folks.
we've
This is just
discredited,
it's actually the 11th time I've asked if we can get back to the substance. So I'm lost right now. I don't even know what we're talking
I
about.
know
Holy shit!
you're
Like
I
we've gotten
so
so
now
far off.
no
Forks. We've gotten so
now
far off
that
that you've literally
everybody
thrown
agrees
my brain. You've
everybody
thrown my brain
understands
around
my
in my head,
point.
dude. I have no idea
Everybody
what
understands
I'm
my
talking
point.
about.
Everyone
So listen,
understands my point. Everyone
Forks,
understands my point.
Forks. Can we
Now
move
that
on from
we've
the point? Are we done?
now that we've discredited
Okay, can we
the
move on
idea
from the point? Are we
now that
done?
we've discredited the idea that
Forks.
you
Can we move
having
on from
a
the point? Are we done?
now I'm no,
Holy shit!
I'm
15
trying to
times
see.
I've asked you a
I'm
yes or no
trying to
question,
see
and I can't
because
get an answer to it. Holy shit!
because I'm not interested in continuing the conversation unless you
So can we
admit to
move
me.
on from the point? Are we
No,
done?
unless you admit this, I'm not interested in having the conversation. Because
Admit
now
what? What do you want an admittance
yeah,
to?
admit this, right? Now that we've understood in the conversation that you personally thinking my opinion is absurd, or you personally thinking other people like my opinion, now that we've discredited that as like a good
No, it's not
counter
just me.
to my
It's me
bullet bite,
and you, Forks. We both
now that
agree.
we've discredited the idea that calling my position absurd is a defeater, do you have any substantive
Sorry,
disagreement
Forks.
with
I don't
my
know that I
opinion?
ever said this was a defeater for the position. Okay, I agree that when somebody says something like Forks. I agree that if somebody says something like "I'm okay with child rape," there's no defeater for that position. They're just an insane
You
person.
don't have a defeater for why child rape is not okay?
No,
Really?
listen. If
You don't
somebody
have a
Forks,
defeater for that?
Forks. The defeater that I give, Forks. I'm trying to answer. Are you done? Okay, Forks. The defeater that I give is I'd say, well, obviously that's not going to be utilitarian. That's going to cause a lot of suffering. And they say, well, I don't care about that. What's the defeater for that, Forks? What's the defeater for not caring? You tell me.
The defeater is accessing what they value and providing an eternal critique.
Gotcha. And they value causing suffering to children. What's the defeater for that?
What's the defeater for them causing suffering to children?
No. What's the defeater for their value, Forks?
Yeah, you can ask them to justify their value as I've justified.
Yes.
mine.
The justification is they want to cause suffering to as many children as possible. What's the defeater, Forks?
That's not a justification. That's a claim.
Wait, what the fuck do you think a justification is?
justification is not a claim. A justification is a claim with
A
evidence that leads to
justification is not a
conclusion.
claim? Holy
No,
shit.
a
Dude, the
justification
logic
is a
101, a
claim with
justification is a
evidence.
proposition. What do you think a
Oh my
justification is?
god. So you think that if you give a claim for anything, you have a justified belief? That's what you think?
No, what?
Okay, so
No!
then
Any
clearly it's not a
justification that you
justified
give is a
belief.
claim. Not any claim you give has justification,
No,
retard.
if I ask you for a justification, what anybody is asking of you when they ask for a justification is that you give some sort of evidence or argument for your belief. It's not just making a
Yes,
claim.
those are claims.
Okay, oh my god. I just said the word argument and proof. Arguments and proof are not claims. Are you serious?
An
Really?
argument
Are you
isn't a
stupid?
claim? Holy shit. Dude, I'm actually maybe you've studied like I don't know, you have like a PhD
Oh
in
my
like logic or
god.
something, and
This
I don't
guy
know if
is
you're like
actually
writing a new
insane.
paper that's gonna reform the entire industry of mathematics and logic. That would actually be insane. Okay, that would be super cool.
Okay,
So
so just to be clear,
maybe you could
just to be
tell me
clear.
maybe you could tell me why a set of propositions isn't a
Oh my
claim.
god.
Holy
Just to be
shit.
clear, I don't know why you were like appealing to these weird academic philosophy shits when we're just having a conversation. We're using normal language all up to this point. If
Of
it's
course,
the
the
case, if
justification is
it's
a
the
claim.
case,
If I ask somebody
if
what's
it's
the
the case, if
justification
it's the
for the
case,
position
if
that
it's
it's
the
okay
case,
to murder this person, and they
if it's
say,
the
"Well, I think
case,
self-defense is okay," saying "I think self-defense is okay" is a claim.
I'm saying that you employing this weird
Oh my god.
philosophically I'm saying you employing this weird philosophically academically rigorous definition of
Sure,
justification
I agree that you
when
don't
we've
engage with
not had
philosophy because
when
you're
we
retarded. I
not what
agree.
I said. I'm
Okay.
saying that this
So
is
listen,
not
I'll
the
just ask one more
entirety of what
time.
we've
What's
had
going to
so
be the
far.
defeater for somebody's position if they're just okay with
Oh
child
my
rape?
god. I said you can ask them to validate their values. That's the point I was getting at. I don't know why you're
Great, great.
introducing
And
this
they
argument into a
validate their
conversation
values by saying,
that
"Well, I
doesn't
want
work.
child rape to happen." So what's the defeater?
It's not a validation.
Wait, sorry. What's a validation?
Yeah, it's not a validation is when you actually give some sort of proof or evidence or like
Wait,
further
sorry. The
extrapolation
proof
or
or
for
evidence for them
or at
wanting
least
child
further or at
the
least
proof or
further
evidence for them wanting
extrapolation on the
child rape to
position.
happen is that's a brain state going
Oh
on. What are
my
you
god.
talking about?
When I say that I want sort of validation or extrapolation on their belief, I'm asking for them to give me more information so I can better understand the coherency behind what they're
Right. They
saying.
dude,
But what I'm saying is that given that criteria, it's not informative and therefore not validating for them to just repeat what they value. I didn't just repeat that I value sentience when I told you why
gotcha.
I
And they
value
might say
sentience.
something like, "Well, I want people to suffer. I like seeing it." Like,
Yeah,
what's the defeater?
and then you could make an eternal critique that they value their own pleasure, they value their own joy via finding others suffering, and they would therefore not be able to justify why it wouldn't be similarly okay for somebody to torture them and cause them to suffer. You
No,
can
they
make
would just
that
say
kind of
no, they
eternal
would just say
critique.
that what's okay is just talking about their own preferences, right? When they say like, "Oh, this is okay," it's just about their own preferences. And their preferences are to see other people suffer. What's the defeater?
As in, they could not make a non-arbitrary distinction between their suffering and other people's suffering. So if they don't believe they
No,
should
no, they
suffer,
want
we
other
would
people to
reckon
suffer.
Okay,
Wait, do you think there's only
I'm saying
arbitrary distinctions between one person and another? You think
I'm
like people don't
saying
exist?
that's not what I said. I said that
That sounds like the implication of what you said.
other people's suffering and your own suffering are going to be categorically more similar than they are different. I don't think there's a non-arbitrary distinction between them such that you could justify why you care about your suffering but not others.
Gotcha. So I guess I'm just gonna ask one more time, okay? Or do you think it's possible that
Oh,
somebody cares about their own suffering, doesn't want it to happen, but wants others to suffer? You think that's possible?
I'll be right back. Hold on. My dogs
Okay.
are barking.
I would ramble to the audience, but I'm not that kind of person.
You're amazing. What topics do you debate?
I'll debate anything. I don't understand
You
why
debate
Forks is doing
anything?
this, dude. I thought he wasn't gonna troll. I'm getting trolled right now.
What do you think about the laws of logic being objective? Main
Laws
class
of
of
I don't think they're objective. I think that's an insane take.
okay, W. Guess
Wait, do you
we
think
agree.
they're objective?
Nah, I disagree as
Okay,
well.
set of norms. Hell yeah.
Where's Forks?
He said he had to go let his dogs out, or that they were barking or something.
Okay,
I can't
I'm
wait
back.
until. All right,
I'm back.
I'm excited. I'm excited. What's
So
the defeater for somebody saying that they like prefer for other people to suffer and not for them to suffer?
yeah, so we would investigate whether or not that that category differential making between their suffering and other people's suffering has any basis, right? And if not,
Well, the basis is their preference.
I don't think preference is a basis.
Wait, what do you mean? I don't think preference is a basis. You understand that
Like, I don't
preference
think
has
I
like
don't.
wait,
I
just
think,
real quick. You understand that preference has categories, right?
yeah, like all I mean is I don't think, unless I'm misunderstanding what you mean by preference, I don't think simply repeating that you value something is a basis for valuing that thing.
Wait, sorry. Do you think you have to have an objective basis for value?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you can value whatever you want, but I think that if you're going to get into an argument with somebody about what they value, right? I don't think that we just have to throw our hands up in the air and say, "Oh, well, their value of this is irreducible." I do think it's fine to investigate why they value that thing and determine whether or not.
Right, and then once you investigate it, they say,
valid.
"Well, it's just my preference." Like, how do you? What's the defeater?
Yeah, I'm saying that that's not an actual justification.
Gotcha.
I'm
Well,
saying,
they're saying they don't have an objective justification. So what's the defeater?
yeah, the defeaters. Well, it's not a defeater. It's just you would just be pointing out that they're not making an argument.
No, they are making an argument. They say, "I prefer this thing," right? This thing is occurring, therefore I prefer for this thing to occur, right? Or some you can put out some sort of syllogism, which is going to have like some sort of conditional, and is going to have the conclusion, "I prefer for this thing to occur," right? Like I prefer that
Oh,
people suffer.
structurally,
When people get raped, they suffer. Therefore, I prefer rape. Like what's the
yeah, like
issue?
structurally, if you want to call that an argument, that's fine. But like, that's not like a position that you're giving that can further the conversation in any way. So like,
True.
I
So
think,
if somebody
I
said
think,
something like
I
I'm
think, I
okay,
think,
so if somebody
I think
said something like
to be
I'm okay
clear,
with child rape, and then you
to be
get it down
clear,
to their preference, right? You agree that there's not going to be a defeater for it.
yeah, we should just throw that person in jail at that point. But like,
Cool, I
you
agree.
understand
So
what
listen,
you understand
when
what
I'm
I'm
in a
saying, right? So
conversation with somebody,
I
when
don't
I'm in a
mind.
conversation with somebody and I get it down to the
Based,
point where they're like, yeah, I'm okay with murdering coma babies, and
yeah,
I'm
based.
okay with murdering,
You think I
and I'm okay with
like
murdering like a clone of my mother or whatever, like raping her, like that's the type of person I think you
Yeah,
would throw
but
in
do
jail.
you
Like, I mean, it's
understand?
just like an
Yeah, but
insane position.
do you understand that when you investigated my preference surrounding sentient experience, right? You understand that I didn't just throw my hands in the air and say it's irreducible. I have nothing to say. I just prefer it to be that way. It's like no. It's like, well, when I'm
Wait,
evaluating,
oh, maybe you did give an objective justification. What's going to be the
I
justification
didn't say
for
it
it only
has to be
being okay to
objective.
murder sentient things?
I didn't say it has to be objective. Not like a moral
Oh,
objectivist.
so what's going to be the justification?
Yeah, I just said that when I evaluate moral scenarios, like when I'm trying to understand like why we consider things like murder, rape, theft, etc. to
No,
be
no, why
wrong.
you consider? Sorry, not why we consider. Just want to be clear.
Well, to be clear, most of Western society considers these things to be wrong, right?
Yeah, it's fine. I'm talking about what you consider. I don't care about what most of Western society considers.
I'm just factoring them in because they do consider it. I'm not trying to use it
That's
to
great.
add
I'm just
merit.
asking you. So we don't let's not factor them in, okay?
Okay, well, when it comes to things like rape, murder, theft, etc., like I'm analyzing, well, why do we consider these things to be wrong? What's a consistent through line? Because I do think consistency is important for trying to iron out your moral positions. It seems like the super consistent through line is the fact that there is some sentient experience or life that is being imposed upon unwillingly, and that seems to be a
Right.
consistent
So
through
yeah,
line. I'm
what's going to be the
ironing it out.
justification? What's going to be the justification for only caring about things that have something experience?
Because it seems like non-sentient things like rocks, grass, wood, dead bodies, even to an extent, just things of this nature. It seems like they're not granted. There's nothing we're infringing upon. We're not harming them. We're not causing them
Right.
suffering.
So sorry,
There
I'm
is
I'm
no.
just gonna ask one more
There
time.
is
Like, what's
no.
the
There is no
justification for
notion.
only caring about those
Yeah,
things,
I'm saying
the
that there
sentient
is
things?
no. I'm saying there is no notion of harm, suffering, etc.
Yeah. Why
Right?
does that
They're
matter?
not even. They're not even agential. So to
Yeah,
say
but they
that
like exist, right? Why does that matter? Why does whether they can suffer matter? Like, what's
because
there? What's there?
because yeah, again, it doesn't seem like existing is going to grant you rights because like
Why?
okay, do you agree that okay, you agree do you have like a notion of right
First,
and wrong?
I'm gonna feel bad doing this because what's gonna happen is we're gonna get
I'm
it
just
down to
trying
a
to hold on
preference. Like,
hold on, I'm
I
asking you.
promise you, this is not gonna go the way you want it. Like,
Okay,
you're not gonna
well,
give any justification that isn't gonna
okay,
bottom out of
hold on,
preference.
I didn't say that at some point you won't run into some sort of irreducible characteristic. What I said
Cool.
is
So,
that
well, I mean, you did.
what I
You
said
said,
is
well,
that
these sorts of
no,
things aren't.
this is not
Yeah, you said
what I
these sorts
said
of
is
things
that
don't have to be irreducible, right? And then now you think that they're irreducible. So, listen, I
it's
agree
not what
they're
I
irreducible at a certain point. People can give like more justification and like kick the can down the road or whatever. That's fine. But as long as we agree they bottom out of preference, like once it bottoms out, and once they give that justification, or once there's a scenario where they just say like, yeah, this is what I prefer in this scenario, and it seems like crazy to me, like there's not much more conversation to be had. Like if I'm talking to a child rapist, and we bottom out of preference, and they're just like, yeah, dude, I don't know, I like raping children, I like when
Well,
people
I
rape
think
children, I'm cool
no,
with
I
that.
don't
Like
think
yeah,
that's
there's
the
no more
point.
conversation to me to have. I'm not gonna
I don't
sit
think
there and
that's the
like
point I made.
philosophize more. There's nothing to talk about. They're
I
just like
don't
an
think
insane
that's the point
person.
I made. The point I made was that you asked me the question of whether or not we can provide like relevant critiques of somebody who has certain preferences, and I said it's possible because you can see if there's like some sort of buffer between their like innate preference or their irreducible value and the positions they're finding. And so when you question or investigate those buffers and you see whether or not they have consistent beliefs based on those buffers, that's something you can use to provide an internal critique. Now, I don't think I ever disagreed with you on the idea that sometimes we get down to irreducibles and there's nothing to go from there except to say, well, I guess we'll have to
Well,
agree
you
to
acted like
disagree.
that was absurd when I said, yeah, I don't
I
think there's a
didn't.
defeater for somebody who's a child rapist because they're just insane. You were like, you don't have a defeater for that, and you laughed like that was absurd. And then
Yeah,
I
like
asked
I'm a
you,
child rapist. You can
I
provide a
pushed you for a defeater, and you just said, well, I don't know, it just bottoms out at preference. So they just throw their
no.
hands up, like, what do I even do? I don't know, right? Like, and I'm saying the
First of
same thing
all,
about you. Like, I don't
no,
know. Listen, I don't know. I
most
don't have
child
any sort of
rapists
defeater
can
for like the
can
insane position
provide a
that it's okay
defeater.
to murder and rape like a clone of your
You can
mother,
provide a
or that it's
defeater
okay to
for most
murder and
child
rape like
rapists.
a coma baby. Like, I don't know. That's just it's just an
You
insane position, right? I mean,
think
I guess I could ask
no.
you more scenarios, right? Like if I asked you something
You
about
think
like,
you
oh,
can
like
provide a
what if the
defeater for
coma
most
baby
child
wakes up for
rapists?
1 second and then goes back to sleep? Is that suddenly valuable? And you would say yes, and I'd be like, well, that's just obviously crazy. Like, there's like all sorts of things that I could
Okay,
ask,
so
but
really, okay,
uh,
that's fine. But do you think you can provide a defeater for most child rapists? Because that's what I laughed at. 99% of child rapists, again,
no, those people are insane.
I don't even
You're
think
not
that's
going
the
to be able to provide an intellectual defeater to somebody
I
who's
think
actually
you
like
can.
crazy.
I think you can. I think you can often point out
You
that they
think you
value.
can provide an intellectual defeater for somebody who's so intellectually deprived and insane that they rape children? Really?
Yes. Okay.
Holy shit.
Do consider that a defeater is not the same as literally changing that person or reforming that person. I don't think they're going to change or reform because
A
they are
defeater
crazy.
has to be a
Because they are
contradiction in their
crazy. Yes,
position.
you can contradict their position, but because they're
These
insane,
people
they'll
don't hold
probably continue.
consistent, these people don't hold like set moral positions. They're insane people. They don't
I
sit and think
agree.
about
I
their moral
agree. They
positions.
don't have consistent moral positions. So you could probably point out the fact, well,
They
oh,
don't
you
they
can
don't have like moral positions at
hold
all. Like
on.
none of these people. Oh my god.
If somebody gives the proposition that child rape is okay, and I question whether or not they care about consent in other areas of life, which they probably will, then I would point out that there's a contradiction. I didn't say I could reform them. I didn't say that they would stop their behavior. I just said that most child rapists, you probably can provide a defeater if they try to justify child rape. Now, again, right, I don't disagree with you. I don't think I ever disagreed with you that some people have irreducible values. In fact, most of us probably do.
Cool.
All I'm saying is that you
All right,
can
listen.
internally critique most of these people's positions.
Great. I think you can internally critique some people. Okay, I don't have
I'm glad
empirical
we
data, and
agree.
neither do
I'm
you
glad
on
we
whether
agree.
rapists have like internal positions that you can critique well. So listen, we can put that aside.
I'm
So I
glad
mean,
we
let's just go
agree.
over a few more scenarios to test the intuition, and there's probably not much left to talk about. Okay, so let's imagine we have two scenarios. We have a scenario where we have a coma baby, and that baby wakes up for I don't know, like 1 second, right? Like that baby has brain activity for 1 second and then goes back into a coma. Okay, versus we have a baby which is a coma baby, but the baby's gonna wake up in 10 minutes. Okay, so I didn't provide the other qualification. This baby that wakes up for 1 second, by the way, it's gonna wake up in like 60 years, right? So it has 1 second of experience, and then it's in a coma for 60 years, and it wakes up. Okay, then we have this other scenario where we have a baby that is gonna wake up in 2 minutes, right? Is it
Uh,
gonna be more wrong to kill the baby that's gonna wake up in 2 minutes, or the baby that's gonna wake up in 60 years?
Maybe that's gonna wake up in 60 years.
Okay, that's just yeah. I mean, that's just like crazy, right? So yeah,
I don't think
for
it's
me,
crazy.
listen, for me, if I look at a baby that's gonna wake up in 60 years, and I look at a baby that's gonna wake up in 2 seconds, right? I'm gonna think, yeah, it's probably gonna be more wrong to kill the baby that's gonna wake up in 2 seconds than the baby that's gonna wake up in 60 years, right? But
I
yeah,
mean that's the claim. you can think that, but like at the end of the day, I mean, what I'm taking into consideration is that the baby has not divorced itself yet from the identity of being a clump of cells prior, whereas the other one has divorced itself, and that seems super relevant to me. And then furthermore, if we're going to tie this back into abortion, what I'm going to consider is that this clump of cells who has not divorced itself from that, who has not yet achieved sentient experience, I don't think that there's going to be any person in their right mind, right, if we're going to appeal to absurdities, who is going to overvalue that thing's life over the autonomy of a mother who has already achieved her value, who has already actualized
No,
her
I'm
value.
not sorry, Forks. I'm not talking about anything. These babies are
Just-
not inside the mother. I'm talking about babies. Talking about babies that are just like
I
sitting in an
understand.
ICU.
I just
Like
wanted to
you
tie
know,
it back to
you would
abortion.
say. Wait, just to be clear, Forks, you would say that if we had two babies sitting in an ICU and one of them had 1 second of brain activity and the other one didn't, right? The one with 1 second of brain activity is going to wake up in 60, 70, 100 years, right? But the other one's going to wake up in 2 minutes, right? You would actually be okay with a person going in and murdering the baby that's going to wake up in 2 minutes. And you would absolutely not be okay with somebody going and murdering the baby that's going to wake up in 60 years. Like,
One that hasn't woken up yet has not divorced itself from the identity of just a mere clump of cells. And just like a tumor,
no, it's a clump of cells again because it's in a
I
coma.
think you're proposing that it's never not been a clump of cells, that it's been in a coma, never achieved prior sentient experience. So just like a tumor that I would,
It's not a
just like
clump of cells.
just
In the same way,
just like
that a person in
so
a
really
coma
quickly,
isn't a clump of cells, right?
really quickly, just like if I had a tumor, that if for whatever reason I believed that this tumor would eventually become a person, I would still find it morally acceptable to have the tumor removed, even if it was necessarily killed as a result of that action. I don't care if it has future potential. All that is telling me is that it has not actualized its moral value yet.
Great. So I'd probably be okay with having a tumor removed, but that's not going to be relevant, right? So, the point is going to be when we talk about this sort of thing of identity, right? And you say, well, it hasn't divorced itself of the identity of being a clump of cells. Well, I mean, it does have like a brain, right? Like people, in the same way that people in comas have brains, right? Like people in comas have full brain structures, right? Their identity has nothing to do with it. Like if we imagine, you said you'd be okay, or you wouldn't be okay with murdering a person in a coma who wakes up with an entirely different new identity, right? Because psychological continuity isn't the thing that matters here. In the same way that a fetus, right, a fetus that has 1 second of experience doesn't really have any psychological continuity. It just has some brain activity, right? But if we look at these two fetuses where one of them has 1 second of experience and one of them has 0 seconds of experience, they have pretty much the same brain structure. I mean, we can even suppose for the sake of the hypothetical, they have the exact same brain structure and body structure. They're identical clones of each other. It's just one has like 1 second or 10 milliseconds or whatever of brain activity, right? Well, I mean, in terms of structure, both of them have divorced themselves from being a clump of cells. It's just one of them has had like brain activity for a second and the other one hasn't, right?
We're
Yeah,
differentiating.
of course, they divorce themselves to the
When we're
identity of being just a clump of
differentiating
cells. They both have
when
the
we're,
same structure.
when we're differentiating between the identity of a clump of cells and the identity of an actual baby with sentient experience or former sentient experience, what we're making a comment on is the fact that it has muscle tissue, it can have blood, it can have these elements, these aspects, but there's not actually a sentient, I suppose, person underneath all of that. So that is to say,
Well, no,
that is to say,
you're just kind of wrong here. Listen,
that is to say, it doesn't have the capacity to suffer. It doesn't have the capacity to have will or consent.
listen, neither does a baby that has 1 second of experience that goes into a coma again, right? Like
It
that
did have.
baby doesn't have the capacity to suffer. It doesn't have the capacity to think or feel. It doesn't have the capacity for pleasure, right? It's in a coma, right? Of course, it doesn't have that. Now listen. The baby will wake up, right? If we care about the capacity to do all of these sorts of things, well, I actually really care about that, right? I think I know for a fact that a baby that's going to wake up in 2 minutes from a coma has the capacity to think, it has the capacity to feel, it has the capacity to suffer in 2 minutes, right? In the same way that a baby that has 1 second of experience, that's going to wake up in 60 years has the capacity to do all of these things just in 60 years, right? It's going to take longer.
I'm clearly speaking on when we act on these capacities. So sorry if that was confusing language. I actually playing a little bit of Roblox might not right now, so I might have used.
Listen, I agree, but you agree that in both scenarios, whether they have passed, hold on, just Forks, real quick. You agree that in both scenarios, whether they have passed or no past experience, that they have equal capacities to act on these experience, right? If they're both currently in a coma and both currently have the same brain structure?
Yeah, I suppose what I'm saying is that the only
Wait, so
reason,
yes, right?
Really quickly, the only reason I would ever the only reason I typically agree that capacity is important is because typically, if something has the capacity to do something, I'm going to be demonstrating some sort of precautionary principle. Because if it has the capacity, I can't certainly verify whether or not it's actually having a sentient experience. The reason why I'm saying that capacity doesn't matter in this hypothetical is in this hypothetical, you're clearly demonstrating that we're certain that it's not having any type of sentient experience, and it never has. That's
Yeah,
why
it's
I'm
in a
saying
coma.
that's why I'm
Listen,
saying
for
that's why I'm saying it's not divorced itself ever, right, from the identity of a clump of cells. And again, when I say identity, I'm saying, what we would compare it to, what we would categorize it as. It's no different from a clump of
So, Forks,
cells.
I guess what I'm gonna ask. I guess what I'm gonna ask then is, okay, these two things have different experiences in the past, right? So we have the coma babies. We have two of them. One has 1 second of experience. One doesn't, right? But let's imagine that after this guy has 1 second of experience, this baby, it has like the exact same brain and body structure as the other baby. They're identical clones. What's gonna be the difference between these two currently?
The difference is that I want one to resume its experience. Of course, resuming implying that there was one to begin with, and the other hasn't even started it
You
yet.
you keep saying
It's a wait, wait, wait.
resuming.
It's a similar reason as to why I don't think we can just go ahead and kill everybody who was asleep, because they had an experience prior that we valued, actualized value. We need it to resume so we can progress with that actualized value.
Wait, so folks, you keep saying resuming experience. Like the baby doesn't have any psychological continuity. It's a baby. Like there's no experience to resume. And when you say resuming experience, I mean, I went over this earlier. If we agree that, they lose all of their memories, right? And they're just a completely different person in terms of personality and brain structure, right? Like we wouldn't say that they're resuming some sort of experience. They're just having an experience and then having another experience, right? So I guess the thing that I'd ask you now is, well, imagine we have like, because this resuming thing is really weird to me, and I'm assuming we can probably get
I
around this,
don't.
right?
Yeah,
So,
I
so
agree.
real
Wait,
quick,
wait, wait.
Forks, hold on, just
I,
real quick, Forks. I was just gonna ask a question real
when
quick.
I say
So real quick, just real quick,
I
Forks,
say,
just real quick, just
wait,
real
wait,
quick. I
wait.
was just gonna ask a
I
question, just real
understand.
quick, just real quick, just real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
So imagine we
Okay.
have somebody in a coma, right? And this person in a coma, in the middle of the coma, I don't know, we take out their brain and put in another brain, right? And this other brain is, this person in the coma, who now has had a brain transplant, presuming that's possible or whatever, is going to wake up in 5 minutes. You think it's like okay to murder them?
I don't think we need to work in hypotheticals to clear this misunderstanding. So like when
I
I
think we
say
do.
I don't think so. We can just like use dementia patients as like an example. Like I think dementia patients are going to have some of the least continuity imaginable. But when I'm speaking whether or not they're having a continuous experience or whether or not they're resuming an experience when they wake up from their sleep, I don't think I'm speaking to continuity. I actually clarified this earlier. I'm just speaking to the fact that there's an experience going on and that it's continuing. It should be allowed to continue, even if there's breaks in between. We have something that's actualized its potential value.
Sure, sure. So, listen, I agree. That dementia patients are generally resuming their experience. Now, this depends, right? So, most dementia patients do have some continuity, right? Like, when we look at like most dementia patients, they don't literally have any. It's not like they lose all memories, right? Like, maybe some people with Alzheimer's get to that point when they're like, a month before dying or whatever. But yeah, generally they have like some memories. They kind of remember the stuff that's going on in their house. They can look around stuff. They can look around at stuff and kind of remember like, oh, I left a note here. Oh, the note says this. Like there is some continuity. Like I've had grandparents with dementia. Like it's not like they're just literally
Yeah,
completely brain dead and
I have
they wake up
I
with
have
no memories or whatever. So
I have
so
2.
listen, but
It's
if
not
we
all
hold on.
cases of dementia, but, like, specifically my grandmother, she would be like that where, like, because there's no short-term memory or there's very little. So my mom would literally be over there to take care of her. She'd be out of the room for, like, a couple minutes for whatever reason. She comes back, they need to reintroduce each other, she needs to be reminded of her name. So it's like all I'm trying to say is that there's, like, a break in continuities that are decently common. I care about the
Yeah, of
experience
course.
that's
But
ongoing.
listen, yeah. When there's no continuity in an experience, okay, I agree that that's going to be different, and that person definitely isn't the same person, right? I mean, you could say they're the same person on some personality basis, right? But I mean, we can also just eliminate that factor, right? In that, like, okay, we can imagine somebody wakes up with a different personality, right? And that eliminates the continuity there. So yeah, I don't think that's cleared it up for me. So I think that's why I wanted to go over this scenario, right? So imagine we have like some sort of brain transplant and a coma patient, right? And the coma patient's going to wake up in 5 minutes. Is it going to be okay to murder the coma patient?
A brain transplant for a coma patient. Has the coma patient ever been sentient?
Yeah. They went into a coma after like a car crash or whatever, like some
Yeah, I
accident.
want them to continue their experience.
Wait. To be clear, they have a different brain now. You understand that?
That okay. So you're saying they're like okay, you're saying they're getting brain swapped. My fault. It's like a
Yeah.
Kenjaku situation. Um, if they what are the consequences if we do kill that person? Like what happens to their former brain? I'm like, curious because this is like a weird hypothetical.
I don't know. You do the brain transplant, and once it's transplanted, the former brain is like thrown out. They just like put it in the bin.
So we're ending that person's conscious experience because they're in a coma. And who's the other brain that they're getting? Is that also a coma patient?
It could be anything, a synthetic brain, a coma patient, whatever. Like, imagine it's just like a synthetic brain. They take
Yeah.
it, they put it in this coma patient.
Well, if it's a synthetic brain, and we know pretty much that in the absence of this synthetic brain, the experience of the person in question is like irrevocably over. It's like, then yeah, I guess in this strange hypothetical, I guess it wouldn't be wrong to like kill that person. Like I guess in a vacuum, all things considered.
Okay, and then I'll ask one more scenario because I wanted to be clear on that one before I ask this one, which is the most important one, clearly. So let's imagine that we have a coma patient and their brain is so fucked up, it's like being ridden with some fucking disease during their coma. So they create an exact copy of this person's brain, but without the sort of disease. Okay, they create an exact copy and they put it in this person. You agree it would be okay to kill this person before they wake up from their coma?
So we're offering a chance for their specific sentient experience to continue in this
Well,
situation.
no, not their specific. It's going to be like a synthetic brain with the exact same experience. It's just a different brain, right? So it's not their experience.
Yeah, as in to save their experience or to save that
Well,
being's
no, it's
experience.
to save like a synthetic brain
There's just
version
gonna
of
be
their
a conscious.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's like a copy and paste type of thing.
No, but Forks, we went over this, right? Psychological continuity isn't the thing that matters, right? Like you brought up the example of dementia patients. Like just because
I
there's no
understand.
psychological.
It's just such a weird hypothetical because I don't even know like if we're considering like this synthetic brain to be like a genuine form of sentience or like more of like AI form of sentience. It's
No,
just so
no, it's like when we say synthetic, it's like it's just a brain. Like I say synthetic, it's just made by a person, but yeah, like it's just a brain. It works in the same way. It has all the same functions. It has the same personality and memories. It's just not like ridden by disease or whatever.
I
And you would be like, okay, murdering this person.
like, I don't know if you're gonna force me to like answer this question, then I guess killing that person whose experience is irrevocably over in the absence of this brain. Like I guess so. Like I would just consider it to be similar to pulling the plug on a grandpa, except with the addition of I guess there could be a brain transplant, but we're just refusing it. I guess.
Well, no. It would more be like pulling the plug on a grandpa that's gonna wake up in 5 minutes, who's gonna be completely fine. That would be like the sort of scenario. Like that would be the thing we're talking about. So, yeah. Listen,
I
I mean,
guess it's just like super
no,
weird.
I mean, it's
I
not, I
don't
guess,
even
like
know.
they're gonna wake up completely fine with all the same memories and all the same feelings. It's just a different brain. It's still the same brain structure. It's just like a different one, you know?
If
Yeah, I mean,
that's I look,
listen, if that's,
I don't even know like the fucking full answer. Like my immediate guess is to say no. I could flip flop
well,
on
I
it.
want you to go with your immediate intuition, okay?
It's
That's what I
just like
want.
I don't even know if this is I often don't like doing this because I think people who do this are kind of lazy. I almost question if this hypothetical is so far removed from reality that it's even worth discussing.
I don't think so. I mean, we can imagine this happening in the next like 100 years, even like, or maybe even in the next 50 years. Like, we do heart transplants, we do liver transplants, we do kidney transplants, we even do hemispherectomies, right? Like, we
Ew.
take out a half of somebody's brain, and they can function like pretty normal afterward. Like, literally, take off like a half of a person's brain, open their head up, and take it out, and
I
let
don't
this person function. Like,
I
the
don't
idea to me that we could do some sort of brain transplant or whatever isn't really that crazy. Like, I
I
mean,
don't
we
know
do this
if
with like every other organ in the body.
I'll give you a conditional answer right now because I don't even know if I have a full answer for this. I don't even know what this would necessarily look like, if it'll necessarily look like how you're describing, but I'll give a conditional answer. If it's the case that the operation in both the examples you gave is going to essentially resume the person's experience or give them a resumed experience in some way, shape, or form, I would probably want to keep them alive because I value the resuming that person's experience, given that they've actualized an
Wait,
experience
but
before.
I just want to be
If
super
that's the case, then
clear.
yes. If that's not the case, then no.
Yeah, I just want to be super clear then, right? So when we say resuming experience, all that means is there's some psychological continuity. Not that we're resuming the brain's experience. This is a whole different brain, right? But yeah, I agree. It's going to be resuming their experience. I actually, Forks, I think this is like a good answer to give. I'm not Like, this isn't some sort of answer I have like an issue with or I think is absurd. I think this is a good answer. I think this is just going to be in contradiction with one of the statements you made earlier, right? And the contradiction is going to be, okay, well, we think about the mother clone scenario, right? Well, if you think it's going to be, if you think it's only going to be wrong to murder, or it's going to be wrong to murder somebody who has some psychological continuation, right? Well, then the mother clone example, where we have a clone of the mother, and you said, okay, it would be okay to kill them before they wake up. Well, now you would actually say, no, I disagree with what I was saying earlier. Like, it wouldn't be okay to kill them, right? Because, it's going to be the same thing as this scenario. It's just an exact copy of a brain using different materials.
You know what this is?
It's going to continue the experience, right?
You know what this is reminding me hard of? I think there's like a video game with like a really similar plot line to this. Hold on, let me look it up. Video.
Well,
game.
wait, so of course, I just want to get it clear. Like, I don't want to call it concession because I
I
think
don't
it's
know
going to
that
make it
it's. I
sound
don't
kind of
know.
averse,
It's
but
just such a. It's just such a.
I mean,
Weird
like, you understand what I'm saying, right? Is if we have what is it, psychological continuity in both scenarios, right? In the example I gave earlier, where you just clone somebody after killing them, and then they wake up with all the same memories, and they wake up as the same person.
I don't
And
even
this
know.
same scenario where somebody has a coma, we throw out their old brain, put in a new one, they wake up with all the same memories and stuff. If you think it's wrong to kill in this scenario with the synthetic brain, you would think it would be wrong to kill
I'll
in the
tell
clone
you
scenario.
what. I'm gonna bring up this video game. I'm gonna give a conditional answer because I actually just truly don't know like what the fuck this is even gonna look like. But there's a video game called Soma, where essentially, from what I remember, the plot is like there's a crisis on Earth, and people are trying to upload their consciousness into a different like realm to try and save themselves, right? And kind of the core question of the game is, well, the process that they're using isn't like a copy and paste where their consciousness as it is being transmitted into a new body. It's a cut and paste, right? So that's to say the consciousness that they have um, is not the same as them, right? It's a totally different being, right? That just so happens to have their memories. So if it's anything like the video game where it's like a cut and paste and that's not actually you, I don't know if I would
Well,
consider that. I don't know.
I've laid it out super clearly. I'll lay it out one more time just so we're
Wait, wait,
super
really
clear, okay?
quickly. If it,
But
I was
Forks,
answer.
I just want to
If
lay
it's
it out, okay? So
yeah.
listen, because you asked me, well, if it's anything like this, I laid it out earlier, and I'll lay it out again super clearly, okay? This person will wake up with all the same memories and as the same person with the same personality, right? Like, just as they would have woken up if their brain hadn't been like ridden with disease or whatever, right? Same thing with the clone example. Well, obviously a clone is just the exact same thing, right? It's just using different materials.
I don't know. I guess the question is like, is having someone's exact traits, is that something we can call a new being? And I think my answer is yes. Like if I make an AI robot that I design to awaken as soon as I die that has my same personality traits, memories, I would consider that to still be a new being. And if that's the case, if that's not a continuation, then I
Well,
wouldn't
Forks,
value it.
I'll just tell you.
Wait, really quickly, if that's not a true like continuation, that's a new being, I wouldn't value it until it achieves a new sentient experience. So that's my
So,
answer.
Forks, I'll just tell you why I think you're wrong here, and maybe you can tell me if you disagree. So, to be clear, we agreed earlier that everybody kind of wakes up every day with like a new brain, right? So I'm sure you're familiar with like meiosis and mitosis, right? Like a lot of your cells just die off, and a lot of new ones are created, right? So that's what happens in your brain. That's what happens in your organs. That's what's happens on your skin. If you rip off some of your skin, if you like scratch yourself on accident or something, right? It regrows skin cells, and these skin cells are regrown with different materials. Like the scratched skin doesn't just appear back or teleport back; it's gone, right? It regrows with different materials, right? And the same thing happens in your brain, right? As your brain develops, it regrows with different materials that your body takes in from food, right? And that's how you regrow your body. Is you eat food, your body takes in nutrients and materials, it rebuilds with it. And to be clear, like if we agree that okay, well the brain is constantly changing, right? And I guess the idea there is going to be, well, if the brain is constantly changing materials and the materials that the brain is using to form its structure are constantly going to be different, well, really the only thing that's constituting the experience there is the structure of the brain, right? And if we agree that
I agree, but hold on. Like, I think the difference is like, okay, like even though the brain's constantly changing, our body's constantly changing, the one thing that always remains the same is that because it's a gradual process, there's never a moment during that process where we're not a person, we're not sentient, right? Where we don't deserve value because of that. What I'm saying is that in the example you gave, it's a bit more spontaneous, where there's somebody who's not a
so
person
that's not
anymore,
necessarily true.
but then there's a new brain and that person is going to kind of spontaneously come into existence. It's not a gradual process. There
Yeah,
is some time buffer where there's no person that exists.
yes, that's not necessarily true. So again, like there can be time buffers, right? So sleep, your brain is a lot different during sleep, wakes up a little different. Comas, your brain is a lot different during a coma and wakes up very different, right? Like people in comas very, very often wake up with amnesia. They very often wake up and have like sort of different personality traits. Not that they're a completely different person, but yeah, they wake up very different. Your brain changes a lot during comas, depending on how long they are, right? So that's just not correct. As long as we agree that, the brain does change pretty significantly during a coma, and you're not conscious during a coma, which obviously you're not. Well then, yeah, there can be like a phase, and you agree that killing a coma patient is wrong. So yeah, there can be a phase in which you can go through temporary
I'll take
unconsciousness
your
and
word
wake
for it.
up, and be like pretty different, right? And
I'll
we
take
still
your-
wouldn't be
I'll
cool with
take
killing that thing.
I'll take your word for it. Even if we take your word for it, which I'll do, because why not? That it is continuing an experience, and that to be consistent, I would have to say that we shouldn't kill the person who is going to have the brain transplant. Even if we're going to be consistent with that, is there what part of the analogy can be drawn back to an unborn fetus to which they haven't had their sentience in the first place? There is no continuation like there is in these
Listen,
examples.
I'll draw it back real quick, and I have to go soon, so I'll draw it back to a thing that I think is relevant, and then we can have more discussion later, I think. So, all that I'm trying to point out here is that I think this past sentience condition that you were giving, and I think you've changed it now, which is fine, but like I just like a quick concession on the mother example, right? Which is you agreed earlier that okay, like you would be okay like murdering this like clone mother, and that kind of sparked a whole discussion in itself. But you would agree now that you're not okay with it, right? Because there's like some psychological continuity.
Yeah, if what you're saying is true, probably not.
Okay, cool. That's all I wanted. So to be clear, you have changed your position during the debate. That's all I was really looking for because I think the condition that you were giving was bad. I still think the condition that you're giving is bad, but I have to go and pick someone up. So I think that's probably it. So listen, do we agree at the very least that you change your position and that maybe you have like a better position now? Hopefully, are we good with that?
I don't think I changed the position. I think that I had the same position, but I just didn't believe that there was a continuity with the mother example. So I think I changed the position on the analogy, not the position on the
Yeah,
proposition.
I'm not saying you should change the position on past sentience, right? I agree you still care about that, but yeah, you change your position on what continuity is going to look like, right? Like pretty strongly because there are a lot of scenarios that this changes, and I gave the two with the synthetic brain, the mother example, and there are
That's
a lot
fine.
of implications to that. But again, like this is a discussion for another time. So that's all I was really looking for. I think we're good. I think I'm done. All right, cool.
Okay.
All right, Sebi, if you want to do your thing or whatever, and
Do his thing.
yeah, Sebi's a little bitch. Sebi's a little cuck.
Yo,
Yeah, I think
listen.
that's it.
Wait, did you just call me a cunt?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, folks. Discussion.
Yeah, I'm
That's
surprised you would
crazy.
say that.
Who timed out King Maki, bro? This guy was glazing me in chat, and y'all tried to time him out. Y'all are not slick.
Brutal.
Untimed him. King Maki, you're good, buddy. But he's probably not in VC because he was timed out. Never mind.
Okay. Theoretical
All right,
toxic.
bye.
What do you think? How are we?
Oh, you say what?
What do you think? How are we?
Huh?
You sound like you're constantly stoned, man. Do you do a lot of drugs? This is not meant to be
Yeah, I
insulting.
do.
Okay, yeah, I figured.
No, I
Again,
actually do.
yeah, not meant to be
Yeah.
insulting. Okay, so fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. All right, appreciate you guys. I'm gonna head out. Forks. I'm glad we got to yell at each other. I think it's a bonding experience. Okay. Bye, everyone.
I hate you. No, I'm just kidding. I am never debating somebody with their first name as their Discord profile ever again. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding on that as well.
I'm a dip. Oh my god, I'm asleep.
Oh shit. Hold on, let me drag this bitch ass nigga up. Wait, never mind, that's not the real Apollo. Sakazuki, come up here, bro. I need to speak to you. Who's the Jason Goon? I'm gonna drag you up anyway. Wait, do I have power? I don't think I have the power to drag up. How the fuck do I have moderator and I don't have the power to drag up? What is that? Guys, bro, stop timing out Maki.
Yo, that was a good debate. That's pretty interesting.
Yo, also Sakazuki, that's my weekly debate, so my binding vow is yet again complete. I thought it was was an interesting debate as well. I think that guy's way too smart to have been as stubborn as he was. Like, I think he understood the relevancy of why I was bringing certain things up, and he was tending not to because he probably didn't think I could explain their relevancy.
Yeah. He does. I'm in his server. He like kind of like mocks debate everyone in there or something like that.
Yeah, because I like half the debate was on like obviously he called my position absurd because most people wouldn't empathize with it, and like half the debate was on whether or not the populace empathizing is a good metric for criticizing something, and then I think he kept on pretending he didn't understand